Today we're talking about health, asking the question, what do you do to keep yourself healthy? We'd love for you to join the conversation by calling us at 415-663-8492 or tweeting us at Let's Talk on KWMR. Okay, so we're glad you can join us today because it's going to get personal. We're asking you, what do you do to keep yourself healthy, and what do you do when you aren't? This expands to so many of the issues that concern our community. A healthy, sustainable planet comes from healthy, sustainable people. Like all living things, we need light, nourishment, air, rest, movement, and pleasure. With all the seemingly endless choices that are out there, from yoga to walking to gluten-free, Pilates, no GMOs, paleo, vegan, energy medicine, garlic, prayer, fat, it goes on forever. So today, let's get practical. What works for you? What's effective, affordable, helpful? From the newest New Age marvel to maybe a secret potion, remedy, or practice your family passes down to each generation. Call us and let us know about it. How do you keep your body, mind, spirit in peak condition? What do you do when it falls apart? Robin, can I ask you what you may do, or some of the things you may do?
Well, my number one remedy for everything is sleep. I'm a big believer in sleep. As far as if I'm feeling super stressed or I am not feeling well. I'm not a good sleeper. I wake up quite a bit during my night sleeping, but I think that's my brain processing. And then my mama, of course, which everybody from the Farm and Food Shed Report hears me talk about her all the time. But my mama had a lot of home remedies that were considered kind of country and embarrassing to her children that now are all the rage. She was a big believer in what she called mother liquor, which was taking natural salts that she could get salt water from the Gulf where we lived and let it dry out. And then she would let water drip from that and give us a teaspoon of the water because it was full of minerals. Mm-hmm. She talked about the fact that, she would say we would be better off as kids going to the vet instead of going to a doctor because vets knew that nutrition was how you kept expensive large animals alive and people were more invested in their expensive large animals than their costly children.
How about you, Paul?
Well, what do? I don't know. I guess I exercise. I walk a lot, I suppose, every day at least. And I don't know. Just recently, here's an example. As soon as I get any kind of scratchiness in my throat, I take this Chinese medicine that I have in the cabinet for a day, and it goes away. Now, whether that's who knows?
Is that Yin Chow?
It's Yin Chow, yes. Mm-hmm. And so if I actually looked at that, is it the placebo effect? And if so, then the placebo effect works because it happened this week again, and away it went. Other than that, I just had surgery yesterday for a skin cancer on my neck, so I rely on my dermatologist to take out some of that stuff as well. Mm-hmm. That's me.
The renegade, Bernie.
What do you mean, renegade?
I know how you feel about fast food.
Is there something wrong with fast food?
No, I'm not even going to go there.
Well, I'll be serious for a moment. Obviously, health is a comparative thing, and I'm not the healthiest person in the world. I know that, and a lot of people are trying to always advise me on how to be healthier, and sometimes it goes beyond advice. But I do find, like Robin, the idea of sleeping a lot is really helpful to allow body restore. I practice sit spots almost every day. I try to keep that where I'm sitting somewhere in nature quietly, lessening my stress. I feel comfort in my car, and sometimes I like just going for a drive, and then stopping in a fast food is all part of that. And for me, I know, again, it's not the healthiest of lifestyles. I'm not trying to suggest anybody be like me, but I found some level of stasis or whatever you call that, where in my life, the things that I have as priorities, health isn't the highest priority. It's different. When I'm in the emergency room, it's number one priority.
I want to be healthy right now.
Yeah. And so I don't try to dwell on, I don't take anything regularly. I even Advil, take it only when I really have a strong headache. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I don't buy into a lot of these home remedies. I do think most of them are placebo. I think that's fine. For me, the health issue is not what is my health, but what is the health of our species, of our environment, what future generations are inheriting. That's of gravest concern for me. And I know that health is part of mental health, and that's a whole other area we should probably talk about. That is really a huge continuum.
Well, I think
we've got a caller on the air, so why don't we invite our caller to speak up? Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
And what's your name?
My name is Stephen, and I live in Marshall.
Hi, Stephen. I think we might know who you are.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Hey, I just wanted to throw in this, because my wife is a bariatric physician, I might be paying attention to this, but I think the single most thing that you can do to promote your overall well-being is to get your weight in balance. We live in an obese society. People are in the main overweight, and if you lose just 10% of your body weight, you'll improve. I can't list all things, but you'll have huge overall improvement. Just losing 10% of your body weight.
If you're obese, yeah.
No, well, okay.
Well, even if
you're overweight,
Yeah.
I wouldn't use the word obese necessarily, but
Okay.
if you're overweight.
Stephen, this is Bernie. I do identify with this subject because I'm definitely overweight. I'm probably on the edge of obese, and I've been struggling with that. I don't know, middle age. As a young man, it never was an issue. I was always fit and skinny and stuff, and I've gone through lots of things. But it's obviously not a just this is all you need to do kind of thing, right? I mean, it's a very difficult thing for people to meet some ideal standard of not being overweight.
Especially because we live in a society that promotes overweight. Probably everywhere you turn, foods. If you just go to the grocery store, it's a food industry. It's not.
Yes.
Companies provide food. They basically use salt, sugar, and fat as the key ingredients. Portion sizes since the 1950s have doubled. Just going into a restaurant, and what we expect to get on our plate now is twice as much than we expected in the 50s, as an example.
Well, that's interesting.
And Stephen, another factor about weight that's come up as well is over just the past 15 to 20 years, we've had so many more additives and slightly toxic, or things that we're finding out are toxic in our food as well, which are like with young kids, we're seeing the boys with less testosterone and more estrogen. And so we're also getting our bodies out of balance. So the more you can really eat clean foods as well as get the weight down, and eating cleaner foods can
We'll
help.
get the food
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Well,
Right
the
down.
thing is,
Yeah.
the corporations cannot cook better for your family than you can. It's like.
Well, it depends on the cook.
Even Chef Boyardee.
But really healthy. I believe food. Go ahead.
Let's let Stephen finish up real quick.
Not only can't they cook better, but they have food scientists that actually create what they call they look for the sweet spot, which is that spot where essentially your appetite will not be satisfied, and that it tastes just right, smells just right, has the right consistency, and then they pour millions of dollars to push that product. The system is all it's tilted against us at every turn.
It's not on our side.
Not on our side when it comes to food. So listen, you have I'll sign off, and that's all I wanted to add.
Okay, stay dry out there, Marshall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
So, Mary, you were going to... Oh, go ahead, Bernie.
Well, I just wanted to add, I know my mother wasn't a strong cook, and she was definitely susceptible to all of the convenience foods, and that was the early day. You mentioned Chef Boyardee. It brought me back. I mean, it's not that one product, but I got it. To me, fruit came in a can. It was called fruit cocktail with that sweet thing, and so I couldn't eat real fruit because it was disgusting. And for me... and I was raised on a bottle because that's what they advised my mother, in the hospital. Yeah. So we come from a society where indeed the media and the industry and the corporations controlled the behavior of the average folk. And I'm a product of that. I'm aware of that. So the notion that it's easy to just cook at home for yourself, no, it isn't. If you haven't been taught and you never dared it, it's not so easy.
Well, and that's Michael Pollan's, the whole thing of his new thing saying in his book is Cooked is talking about, he realized, getting everybody to realize what kind of food we should buy and do is, if we don't understand how to cook it and make it taste good, then that's an issue as well. But also setting taste buds. They're talking about babies that are bottle fed versus breastfed have very different taste profiles. And I know the difference between myself and my sisters. I was breastfed. They were bottle fed. I loved to go to my grandmother's and my aunts and eat the really country food. They loved the TV dinners and the fruit cocktail and
Swanson's.
and
I love
Swanson's TV dinners. And so it's interesting because I was being exposed more, and I like to go stay on the farm, and they didn't. So I could just see the difference in how the four of us eat even now, because we had just that differential of how we came into the world made our kind of flavor profiles very different. Mary, you were going to say something.
Well, we can change that, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We aren't victims completely if we put our mindset, because in order to stay healthy, you have to keep your immune system strong. Healthy food, movement, exercise, and a peaceful heart are our best friends here. And, you know, food, to me, is medicine. If you eat food that is alive and nourishes the body, you'll feel more vibrant and alive. Most importantly, we now know that you can cure illness with the proper nutrition, and that includes illness like cancer. This has been proven. This is in medical journal after medical journal that hasn't been suppressed. And, you know, that doesn't mean that you don't go to a birthday party and have some sugar and treats, but that should be the rare occasion.
Well, the cover of this month's AARP talks about this, like in huge letters, cancer. And it talks about new ways to approach cancer, teaching the body how to fight off disease. I'm like, we're teaching it? Didn't it already know before we've done whatever we've done? But it's very interesting. They're now looking at, I mean, the whole thing about the, you know, human microbiome and our gut biome. And we're realizing, like Mary was saying, that it's to support our immune systems to fight for us is far more effective, or appearing to start to be far more effective than just drug treatments.
Well, we know it because if you cut yourself, what happens? The cut heals. The body is programmed to heal. That is how we are built.
And we have this ability to adapt. So if we, take a drug, we get addicted to the drug, and then the idea of getting off of it is very difficult. So we can get addicted to industrial food. It is not out of the question that that's not a trivial matter to let go of the comfort food that you've been raised with and that is there so accessible to you. Stephen was right. You're right. I'm not having quarrel with what is best. I'm suggesting that in our society, we here in West Marin and Marin in general are affluent enough and have our time and abilities to farmer market and to be really super healthy, if you will. And so much of the country and so much of the planet really is nowhere near that.
We've got a caller. Caller, you're on the air. What's your name?
Oh, hi, folks. This is Charlie. How you doing?
Hey, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Charlie who?
Charlie.
Oh, just kidding. Morgan.
Charlie McCarthy. Just pulled a string and my mouth moved. Great show. I've got to say, and I've got to personalize all this, that for myself, I think the fact that I quit eating meat on Thanksgiving in 1972, I think has been really good for me. I know that we have the teeth and the digestive system of omnivores, so people, sentient beings generally eat what they can. But I also think one thing that was overall healthy for me in my life was to go around the world once and engage all different kinds of peoples and sort of get away from the USA for a while and see the rest of the world. And finally, I think it's good for me to get outside. For a while, I traveled and played with a horse-drawn theater company that actually we trained up at S2 in 1986, and we made it up to World Expo in Vancouver, and we lived in tents, and we liked that. We liked living in tents. And when we got to Vancouver Expo, these people were kindly, I guess, in their way of thinking, put us in these little apartments, and we didn't like it. Shine, we wanted to be out there with everything else, sending our vibrations out and receiving them from where they were coming from. So anyway, I'll get off the phone. I just wanted to put that out of what has worked for me.
Thanks,
thank you,
Charlie. That's a really interesting, great perspective.
There's a lot to be said for if you're brought up in like suburban.
And plus, Charlie, you got to get all
this. Get it something else, right?
And Charlie got to get all kinds of new germs and stuff for his human microbiome.
Exactly.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting because, Mary, you brought up before, too, the fact that being in nature, and all of you did that, and I know Bernie did actually nature training at Regenerative Design Institute.
That's where that
tracking.
sit-spot idea is where I learned that. Yeah.
Right.
I just wanted to address something that you said, Bernie, about, we're very privileged out here so we can afford to eat well. When I was dirt poor and literally did not know where my next meal was coming from and how I was going to feed the kids, I could at least do organic beans, organic rice, and organic salad. So there are options. And one of the tricks that I still do to this day that I'd like to share is that every morning, this is really cheap and doable and is powerful. I begin every day with a cup of warm lemon water with a little bit of honey. Why is this magical? It alkalizes the whole system of your body. It makes it a lousy home for the bad critters. They don't like that alkaline pH. And it says a good morning kiss to your liver. So that is a really good way to start your day. It's
especially
cheap.
if you're like me and you like your martinis the night before.
We won't go there.
Can I just add that if you fed them a little dirt, that was good for the kids' health as well?
Yeah, well, we used to play and roll around in the dirt.
Exactly.
Kids don't do that anymore.
But that's what's so wrong right now with the health regimes we have. Kids aren't exposed to these pathogens early in life, so they can't deal with them later.
And that's why we're seeing the farm kids having such great gut microbiomes and immune systems. And I mean, I never see the Ponch's kids or the Nyman's kids. I mean, I know all these young farm kids, and they're out there in the fields, and they're running around, and they're healthy as can be.
Yeah.
But Mary, I think you were going to say a little more on that.
Well, I wanted to talk about movement and exercise a little bit because this can counter a lot of other stuff. And my experience has been that the best exercise is the one you love. Our bodies are meant to move. Food is the biggest part because I do believe food is medicine, but going right with that is we have to move. And one of the great things people can do, again, doesn't cost any money. You don't need an outfit. You don't have to go anywhere. All you have to have is a door to walk out of, and you can move your body in an extraordinarily healthy way. If you love to swim, swim. If you love to dance, dance. You have to like what you're doing in order to keep doing it. Stretching. If you sit at a computer for more than 30 minutes, stand up and stretch. Because, again, the science has proven that you have to move every 30 minutes to keep your system.
Or you could throw out the computer, right?
Oh, you could throw out the computer, but that's unrealistic.
And that I have to say, that's my deadly sin, is that I have this way. I work with my laptop, and as a writer, I get the pillows just right on the corner of the sofa, and I get my laptop just right, and everything's comfortable. And then I'll look up and realize I've been sitting like that typing away for 2 or 3 hours. And it's like I kind of don't want to move because I've got the cats off of me, and they're in their right spots. And that's one of my things that I've started, and Mary had been reminding me that it was not good. I was going to say nag. But and so what I do now is I set the kitchen timer. I set it for every hour, but I set the kitchen timer, and when an hour's up, I move everybody. I move the cats, I move the pillows, and I just walk around the house or walk up to the road or just, 5 minutes just to move. And it's, I think, too, is because probably Bernie and I, of the four of us, have some of the more bad habits, but that in changing habits...
Are we ranking us on habits?
I'm ranking us on who gets picked on more, you and me. No, I'm teasing. But I think that, when you have to make a big change, doing it in teensy amounts instead of going, I'm going to go take a 30-minute walk every day, say, I'm going to get up every hour and move around for 5 minutes.
Let me explore the other one that you said is not realistic, throwing out the computer. I agree that is not practical if you want to stay employed, if you want to interact with the world as we know it. But in the long run, incremental changes on how we interact, being more ergonomic in how we sit in front of the computer isn't the answer. It's the fact that we have lost our connection to nature, and we've all intermediated it with digital and virtual realities in every way, shape, or form. Yeah. So when you said go out the door, I completely 100% agree. My wife and I like to walk. I'm slower than she would like, but walking is something most of us can do.
Now, it's funny because I have to confess, I find walking boring. I've got my old hunter-gatherer gene, and if it's like, oh, let's go forage for mushrooms, or let's go get berries, or I've got to walk to the post office to get my mail, but just to walk for no reason.
Well, that's walking with a purpose. You're
yeah,
good. You're good.
You have to give me a reason. So I came up with this idea for back in the day. I had several other friends of mine. We were all in the radio biz together, and we all had that same feeling. So I came up with this great thing that where we would have these like really harsh woodland walks where you go up and down hills, and we would have hidden throughout the area Nordstrom gift cards and things like that. So and we would know, like, okay, there's several. And I actually did that with my son and his friends. He was going to school in San Francisco. We lived in Sausalito with hills behind us, and Luis and his friends didn't want to go outside. So we had a metal detector. For some reason, Luis was obsessed with a metal detector. So I took $20, 2 rolls of quarters, and threw them all up on the hillside behind the house in Sausalito, and got the boys, put sunscreen on them, and gave them the metal detector and said, there's $20 up there. You go get it.
Wow.
You can spend it on anything. And they were out all day. So bribery works.
Great idea.
Bribery, get you out there. Well, it's consciousness, isn't it? I mean, isn't it about being conscious of what you're doing to your body, or what stress you're putting your body on? And if you're, we're of a certain age, all of us here, and things become more obvious as you get a little older, whereas younger guys and younger people, they don't have to worry about it so much, except it's all cumulative. And once you realize that, once you understand the signs, like you were saying, you feel the signs coming on when something's wrong, and Bernie was saying that, and I felt that too. When you're conscious of that and don't just blow it off, right? You know what's going to happen. You know you have to do something about it then to ameliorate it.
That's a good point. And in addition, or I guess it would be a sidebar to this, attitude is everything. I think happiness and health are an inside job. Now, science now knows, thanks to the amazing work of Dr. Bruce Lipton and his work on epigenetics, that we can override even our genetic imprints. Let me repeat that. We can override even our genetic imprints. So if your dad has diabetes, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get diabetes. And how do you do this? Fasten your seatbelts. It blew me away.
It's a 13-week course that you sign up for with your Visa card. Is that right?
No, this is after a lot of study. You can do this with your mind, your feelings, and food. Now, to me, this is a huge breakthrough and highlights what we really need to emphasize most of all in terms of what we may want to address first, our priorities. And just building on what Paul said, yes, consciousness is everything, and it particularly applies here now that we know that it even affects our DNA and genetics.
It's interesting what Paul was saying, and I found when I first moved to the Bay Area in '82, I was always in pretty good shape, but I had a couple of chronic health issues, and I discovered acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And one of the things about that was, and my grandmother used it, and all of a sudden, all the things my grandma had taught me were coming back, and what it was paying attention. The minute you have the funny metallic taste in your mouth, or the little tickle in the back of your throat, or the way your nose feels slightly swollen, you start to notice, and it's at that point, if you can help your body either through food or herbs or whatever, if you can, or get in the bed, if you can help your body at the very beginning point, your immune system gets a shot at it. If you wait until you're running 100-degree fever and go to the doctor, you're pretty much down for the count.
You're in bed for a couple of days.
You mentioned attitude, and I completely agree. I mean, some people I know are always sick, and others of us are never sick. I mean, we're objectively maybe fall in roughly the same objective criteria, but it's a matter of how do you view yourself. Are you letting a drippy nose or whatever bother you, or are you just going on with it? And I really think there are hypochondriacs in this world.
Oh,
well,
absolutely.
I think that has a lot to do with people who are really just disconnected from their bodies.
Yeah.
Fast-paced living, trauma, poor food choices, which for
So
some
it's their
are...
own fault. Yeah.
Well, it's not a question of that. I mean, do you want to take responsibility for your health as much as you can? I do. I want to do that. I was very sick as a young woman and had a near-fatal automobile accident in 1988, and I have empirical knowledge about how much that can influence your healing. I mean, I was supposed to die. They gave me 3 months. Here I am, way too many years later. But I think that when you get disconnected from your body, when you tend to ignore self-care, and then we get sick. When we're sick, we can be of less service to what we love and what we want to create and enjoy. Loving all that is good and true and beautiful begins with loving ourselves. It's not ego. It's actually a form of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just wanted to add a little bit to Bruce Lipton's work on epigenetics. And when we talk about the ability for us to change even our code.
I don't know what that word even means, epigenetics. It's a big word for me.
Well, it's a science that now knows that you can override your genetic code with our minds, our feelings, and food.
Yeah, I
In
heard
other
that.
words, okay, you can change your genetics. I'll be real practical here.
Okay.
You can change your genetics with more laughter, more sex, more peace, more happiness, and a lot of gratitude.
I agree with that.
Wait. I'll do the sciencey person. So the study of epigenetics is the fact that we're more than just our DNA, and there are other triggers within our DNA and our RNA that, let's just say, if your great-grandmother was in a concentration camp, certain epigenetics by the starvation were kicked off that are then passed and shift the DNA down through the family. So there are places where there's, epigenetic things kick off. And so certain epigenetics can happen, like when women have been in wartime or starvation, they may have less boys. So it's outside circumstances kicking into our DNA and RNA that make other things happen.
It's part of evolution. It's part of our evolutionary progress through responding to what the current environment throws at you. In that regard, let me just say, I think it's hard for me to concentrate on my health when I view the health of the planet in such a dire strait. I view that this is the most critical crises of ever in the human species. And within that context of bee colonies collapsing, fisheries collapsing, forests being devastated and turned into palm oil producing so we can drive our cars more, and all that goes with that. It's just crazy. And given all of that, I find the perspective of health is much bigger than me.
Caller, you're on the air. What's your name?
Hi, this is Bryken Olive calling from Fairfax.
Hi, Bryken.
Hi, Mary. I hear your voice in there.
I hear yours on air.
Great. So the topic is health, right?
Right.
So what do you do to keep yourself healthy?
So what do I do? Well, the first thing I would have to say about that is being really good to myself in all ways and being really kind to myself. And the way I do that is I dance. That is my passion, and I love dancing. And for me, the key has been to find something that I really enjoy doing. And dance is that for me. And it keeps my mind healthy, it keeps my body healthy, and it keeps my spirit healthy.
I just want to thank you, Bryken. I want to tell the world what an incredible teacher you are and how much joy you bring to your classes. When I took your class, I thought, well, I'm just going to try it out. Now I wouldn't ever miss it. And everybody in the class has benefited, and it's just been a wonderful experience.
What kind of dancing do you teach?
So what I'm teaching right now is a real mix, and it's really quite a signature style of my own. I studied African dance. I studied Hawaiian dance. I studied Afro roots, so Afro-Cuban, Afro-Brazilian. I've really gone into these cross-cultural indigenous styles, and I'm incredibly inspired by First Nations dances, and I've just really immersed myself in all those styles and just, how that comes through me. How do those styles, how does that influence me and my body, and how does my body fit into that?
Well, it brings a lot of joy. I know that. I can testify.
Yeah, from the joy, absolutely.
And also, I'm wondering, because right before you called in, we were talking, and Bernie was talking about the fact that also what's so concerning for our health is a healthy planet. And I know Bernie and I have had discussions about if we can reconnect to our bodies and the planet the way indigenous people do, how powerful that is. And it sounds like you're bringing a lot of that to the dance.
Absolutely.
I'm curious.
And I think that's the key. That's an absolute key.
Yeah, I think it's a key to not be overwhelmed, Bernie, like you were saying, because we're circling the drain in many ways, and this is very overwhelming. But in order to do the work that needs to be done, to make the connections, to build the community, to strengthen our immune systems, to be able to do the work, we have to address self-care.
But I also think that, talk about the indigenous piece a little bit, Bernie. I think you were going to speak about.
No, that's not what I want to talk about.
Oh, no. Go right ahead.
What I wanted to ask is, are you offering this in the Valley or West Marin or somewhere that other people could join you if there was room?
Absolutely. So
Tell us where.
In Fairfax.
Fairfax, yeah.
And I have two different places. The first place that I would mention is Soul Studios, and it's in Fairfax. It's 12 Soul Street Plaza, and it's a lovely yoga studio that offers dance as well.
Can people find it on a website?
They can, yeah. It's soulstudiosfairfax.com.
And what about your website?
My website is somaexpressiveart.com.
So it's SOMA?
Yes.
So somaexpressivearts.com.
That's right. And I also teach at the Women's Fitness Center, and I just came from teaching a class this morning with a bunch of very spirited women. We had a great time. And, one thing I'd like to say about connecting, how we're treating our planet. First thing is that, we've been dancing for thousands of years as a tribe together. Our culture has been, the human culture, no matter where you are from the world, we've all got this connection that we dance. And in a lot of these indigenous cultures that I've studied, they connect to the earth, they connect to nature, and they connect themselves as part, not separate from. So I really think it's about our connection with nature. And a lot of the dances that I bring in is really about earth, sky, heart. It's really about connecting to the sky, the sun, the elements, connecting to the earth, honoring all of that and our part within that.
I love that, and I think you're also building community, that relationship with the people you're dancing with. I mean, what an important thing is that building that community.
Well, something you don't know, Bracken, and it adds on to what you're saying, Bernie, is as I was walking out of class on Tuesday, a woman, I don't even know her name. I love her. I dance with her. She's a wonderful person. But she turned to me and she said, I think I found my tribe. This is like the most joyous experience. And it brought tears to my eyes. But that's the power of that type of celebration.
That's right, and that we all dance, and that, we can all go and take part in something for our health and to actually join something and celebrate our dancing spirit within soulful community. I really think it's important that, whatever it is that you feel passionate about, to go out and find what others are doing and connect with, your tribe in essence.
I like what you said, is that we can all dance. I know that we can also all sing, and I know that when I was young, I was told, oh, you can't sing, because I couldn't do the scale, and I felt like I can't dance. And so I think we imprint on children very early that they can't do these things. And what foolishness that is so nice to hear you say, we can all dance.
We can all dance, and we've been doing it for a long time, and we can all sing, absolutely. If you can dance, you can sing. If you can sing, you can dance. I had a lovely mentor tell that to me one time. Son Nicole Hill, she is lovely. She lives it, and it's about the singing heart, the dancing heart, connecting together, and taking care of this planet in the best way, and uplifting the human spirit, and staying positive, and action, doing our best, always do our best.
This reminds me of Angeles Arian's work when she was talking about, I can't remember who the indigenous teacher was, but when someone gets sick, they ask him, when did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop listening to stories? And these are a great elixir for health and community and love.
Absolutely.
Well, forming tribes, forming communities makes you part of something that's bigger than yourself, and it makes you understand there's something other than just your body and you that there's a whole world out there of other tribes and things. So yeah, that broadens your whole perspective. Maybe it keeps you from being too wrapped up in your health.
Absolutely. And health is absolutely, like you're saying, it goes far beyond just our physical thought on that. It's our mental condition, it's our emotional condition, it's our spiritual condition, and how we are together and how we can support each other in that and celebrate and really bring health through all those different places. And I would have to say that expression is a real key, to always express your body through voice, through dance, through art, whatever it is that you have that you love, just be involved. That would be my biggest, thing to say about health. Find what you love to do and follow that.
Beautiful, Draken.
Thank you so much for calling in.
What a great call.
Thank you, Bracken.
This is KWMR's weekly Let's Call. Excuse me. Let's Talk In show with co-hosts Paul Raffel, Robin Carpenter, Mary Frank, and me, Bernie Steffen. So this is your last chance to join our conversation on 415-663-8492. And Paul, I think they can be the first to tweet us, right? We haven't received
we've had 2 tweets since we started doing this Twitter thing.
Well, can I just give this little advisory real quick, and then let's hear the tweets. The National Weather Service in the San Francisco Bay Area has issued a flood advisory. There may be minor flooding in poor drainage areas in southeastern Napa County, Sonoma County, and Marin County until noon. Most flood deaths occur in automobiles. Never drive your vehicle into areas where the water covers the roadway. Flood waters are usually deeper than they appear. Just 1 foot of flowing water is powerful enough to sweep vehicles off the road. When encountering flooded roads, make the smart choice. Turn around. Don't drown.
We do have a tweet.
Yeah, good.
Murray says, 2 questions. What about coffee? I'm addicted. What about fasting programs like 5 regular days and 2 low-calorie days?
Well, we're not doctors, and we don't prescribe, but we can go from personal experience. I think it literally is a one size does not fit all. Some people do great with coffee. I can't sleep if I have coffee after 3 o'clock.
And Mary, as you know, coffee calms me down.
I know.
I'll have a cup of coffee, and it relaxes me.
It's almost homeopathic with you.
Almost, yeah.
I'm addicted to chocolate, not coffee. But
well, chocolate's good for you.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. I keep seeing all these things on Facebook that reasons why coffee is good for you, reasons why chocolate's good for you, and they like to appeal to these things we're already addicted to. And the fact that the coffee comes from another continent, I think that's the issue, Murray. Not that you like coffee or whether health-wise you can tolerate it or not. Right. I think we should stop trying to import exotic foods from other places. And that, for me, means a loss of chocolate, which I really don't want to do.
Well, there's got to be some area where we can grow. I mean, I know, like, this area, we can grow things that grow in certain regions of the Andes. So, I have to say, I am a big believer in trade routes, that we should have our local regional food systems, but there are some places that are better for, like, we grow great grass, so we're great for grass-fed meat. There are other places that there's special spices that are really great for our health that only come from those special places. So I believe everything you can grow and provide as much locally as possible, but there are certain treasures that it's nice to share around the world.
And Mendocino grows good grass too, right?
Oh, exactly.
Robin, do you want to address the fasting issue? I know you know a lot about it.
Well, you know, it's interesting. We were talking before the show about, I think it's called, now I can't remember the word for it, but I just read an article about by slight stress on the body actually helps the body rejuvenate and get rid of old cells and build new cells. And one of the ways of putting that slight stressor on the body is fasting. And it not only helps burn up old cells or get rid of old dead cells, it helps rejuvenate new cells. And that other things like do a little bit of over-exercise, other stressors that are short, but fasting in particular has shown to be very effective in sort of doing a reset on the body.
Yeah, and I think that early man, when we were hunter-gatherers, I'm sure didn't like have 3 set times of the day where we ate. It's like there was a good hunt, we all stuff ourselves, and then we may go for a week without food, right?
Hungry now.
So I think that kind of fasting is probably part of our evolving as mammals.
Maybe so. We have another tweet. from Mia. She says this is about having a good supply of healthy food with you. She likes to make 7 grab-and-go bags of hearty mixed raw veggies for each day of the week. Then she never forgets them. So she always has a bag of good little veggies to chew on during the day.
Now, I have... Go ahead. I was just going to say,
Organic, of course.
My husband, who has to go a couple times a month up to Sacramento for several days, but he's the person in the morning that makes our protein drinks that we make. Mine's an organic whey drink. His is some kind of brown rice powder. And then we have, like our turmeric and a couple of other herb things that we take. And so he was going to be in Sacramento for 3 days, and I got up, and the first morning he was gone, and he had set out all of my stuff for the 3 days because he knows how bad I tend to sleep to the last minute, grab coffee and run. And I just thought, that's such a great gift to do that.
I just wanted to say, Mia, thank you for tweeting us. I think that's the first time. And
Murray.
And Murray. So we
you.
love getting tweets. Thank you both.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on a little bit with the supplements that you brought up, because there are certain things that we can do that address the devastation that's going on with our soil and the planet. One of them, these are my go-to favorites. I'm not prescribing. I'm just saying what I know works really well for me and for many other people, my friends, people that I treat. Magnesium. Everybody, as far as I can see, is magnesium deficient because of what's gone on in the soil. And it's the most powerful relaxation mineral available to us. A deficiency in magnesium makes you twice as likely to die as other people. Wait, let me finish.
We're all going to die, aren't we?
Well, listen, we all came in the same door. We're all going out the same door.
It's twice as likely to die earlier.
No, earlier, according to a study in the Journal of Intensive... No, this is intensive...
No, we're just laughing because we're all going to die.
Oopsie. Okay. Anyway, this was in the Journal of Intensive Care Medicine. So often if someone comes in with a heart emergency, they blast them with magnesium. Half of Americans are deficient in it, so it's very important to our general health. I take it every day.
Magnesium, when I was in high school in chemistry lab, I thought you poured water on it and watched it flare.
That's phosphorus. No, magnesium's the one that burns really bright.
Yeah, I know. It scared me. I don't know.
Deficiencies in it can cause ADD, autism, angina, migraines, diabetes, osteoporosis, PMS, IBS. It goes on. It's an important supplement. If you are prone to that, it's cheap. It's available. The other things I would like to mention is vitamin D. We all need it.
Well, and speaking of vitamin D, I just want to point out that all the years that everybody was like sunscreen, and I was always like, and my dermatologist would go crazy. I said, I always get a little light base tan. I'm out fishing all the time. I'm in the woods a lot, and it's easier for me. And I really don't. I always had this aversion to sunscreen because I thought it was so toxic. It smelled bad. It was chemically, and so I would wear a long sleeve shirt and a hat. And so studies are now showing that, we're not getting enough vitamin D. We're not getting any sunshine, and the sunscreens are maybe not so great for us. But anyway, that was my little vitamin D rant.
Oh, no, I agree. The other one that was a big no-no for years is fat. But we now know that the good fats, like coconut oil and olive oil, you can't get too much of them.
Well, see, that's an example I want to talk about because I was nagged for a long time. Get the low fat. Don't eat that fat. That's got fat in it. And because all the experts in medicine...
No, that was mostly a marketing...
Yeah, I understand.
Propaganda.
But we were all swallowing it. My whole family, everybody was swallowing it.
And during that time, we got fatter. During those days, we got fatter.
Exactly.
But coconut oil actually makes you lose weight. Sorry.
But my point is, we all believed that medical establishment story because it was science, because it was a study, et cetera, et cetera. And then later, a study completely contradicts it, which I think the newer one is correct, but it just shows me that don't buy too heavily into any one of these scientific studies because you never know who backed it.
Well, and then that was actually Nicolette Hahn-Nyman in her book, Defending Beef, has a chapter all about how that came about. But we've got a caller. Caller, you're on the air. What's your name?
Oh, hi. Lyons. It's Lyons.
Hello, Lyons.
And I am happy to say that neither my mother nor my grandmother nor I got sucked into that low-fat thing. We never had margarine in our house. Blech.
Margarine.
I think it's still a lot about educating yourself trusting your instincts about what works for your body.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mary, I think you said earlier, it's not a one-size-fits-all, or somebody did that, just because taking supplement X works for you doesn't mean it's going to be the best choice for me. Vice versa. We have to make our own choices and use our own intelligence as well as trusting, a good medical person, somebody we've developed a relationship with.
But also, Lyons, it sounds like there was I remember when margarine came out, my grandmother said, that's industrial oil waste. She was like, we're not eating that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so there's also this point at which if we can kind of stay connected, and also you were connected generationally, which is really helpful too, I think.
Parquet.
You remember with the bags? I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, Robin, but not only was it margarine, but there was a color capsule that you squished, and you squished the bag to make it look yellow. Oh, God knows what that was.
Yeah.
We hope it was turmeric.
I don't think so.
Thank you, Lyons. That's
Thank
great.
you, Lyons.
So we also have a follow-up from Mia. She brings her 7 grab-and-go bags of hearty mixed raw veggies each day so that she can eat her 3 daily desserts.
Well, I think, it's interesting because the whole thing with sugar as being the thing, and there was a big thing that I have to highly I guess I'm not supposed to recommend, but I have to say Defending Beef is such a great book because she has the whole last quarter of the book is all about how the medical establishment and the food guidelines were affected politically, and how this one poor doctor was going, it's sugar, and he was reviled by the medical establishment and treated really badly. I unfortunately can't remember the names of any of these people, but at the end of the day, it's come down to sugar.
Sugar makes you fat.
And I went to a cardiologist 3 months ago who is, a renowned cardiologist, blah, blah, blah. And he started talking about switching to Smart Balance and margarine and this and this and that right here in Marin. And I said, I may be a little bit overweight, but it's all organic, grass-fed, local fat. And I said, I think probably it's the wine and what sugar I have. Haven't you heard about this, the inflammation from sugar? He says, no, I want you to cut out all animal fats. I'd like you to go to margarine and and I was like, where has he been? And this was someone who was a highly recommended cardiologist. And I thought, has he not read? And so
he's old school.
He's old school.
Well, Dr. Mark Hyman, are you familiar with him?
No.
His book on Eat Fat, Get Thin is incredible. Really, I recommend. Oh, we're not supposed to recommend, but it's a great book.
But the key
in my opinion,
is that we've learned is you don't get fat by eating fat. You eat fat because your body generates the fat, and it gets it mostly from the sugars and refined flours. No question that is a healthier diet to stay away from the sugars and
the refined.
But I wanted to say something about vegans. If you listen to a lot of vegans, some of them get quite militant about the fact that it's not only the healthiest for you, but it's the healthiest for the planet. And in many ways, I buy their arguments. I believe that if we were on that diet, our stress on the planet would be less water and less lots of things. However, I'm not convinced that we ought to narrow ourselves that way. I think we were omnivores for a long time, and there's something to that in terms of staying resilient for the future.
Well, and there's so many studies. You guys don't even want to get me started on the vegan thing, but there's so many studies showing how it would be far more detrimental to the planet, and that we have to have, in order to have food, we have to have that combination of livestock and vegetables. And so one of the, row crops for vegetables is very damaging, and vegans depend so much on supplements and genetically modified and high-tech created food. So that's actually a great topic for another show.
Do we have GMO tofu for them?
Yes, we do. Yes,
my God.
Absolutely.
Soy? Oof.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got about a minute left.
Yes, and I want to thank all of our listeners and callers today for your participation. I hope you'll tune in every Thursday at 11. We'll be here because your voice really does matter.